Antoine, thanks for coming on. Clay is going to MC the session, but I just wanted to personally thank you again, man. This means a lot to us.
Hey, no worries at all, man. No worries at all. I'm glad y'all chose me to be a part of it.
All right, take it away, Clay.
Thank you, sir. Anton. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at your background and I was just absolutely like impressed with who you are as a person and what you are. And for those of us listening at home today, we're joined by a man who truly embodies the term Renaissance man. Anton Hood's journey in a masterclass in resilience, stretching from the hardwoods of the United States Air Force Academy, where he finished the top scores in schools in the history, to the elite training camps of the Denver Nuggets and San Antonio Spurs. As a U.S. Air Force Academy graduate and former officer in the Air Force Reserves, Anton understands the unique discipline, weight, and responsibility and the service before self mindset that defines everybody in the room. But Anton's story goes beyond athletic and military accolades. He is a cancer survivor who has turned a life threatening challenge into a platform for advocacy and strength. He has successfully translated his leadership skills into the civilian sector as a project manager, an enterprise executive search consultant, and a published author. His entrepreneurial spirit has led him to launch ventures like his hydration company, which I can't pronounce. I apologize. Providing the skills that we learned in the uniform are the same tools required to build a business from the ground up. Transitioning from the military isn't just about finding a new job, it's redefining your identity, your values, and your skills. Let's give Anton Hood a very large round of applause and thank him for his time today. Anton, what I usually like to start out with is pretend you were a Marvel superhero. Tell us your origin story. What got you to the Air Force Academy? And as someone who's sitting in Colorado right now, in between the Nuggets facility and the Air Force Academy, like what got you to the Air Force Academy?
Yeah, no, awesome. A great intro, by the way, too, man. It's always weird when people talk about you. Like it's interesting because I tell people all the time, confidence without humility is people think you're arrogant, but then humility with no confidence, people think you're insecure. So it's just kind of always that balance of everything. So it's weird to hear about yourself, but I appreciate the kind words and hopefully most of them are true, because it's a different vantage point of perspective when you're living the life that people are describing, in intros. So I say all that to say I appreciate everybody's time. I know for a lot of us, and I guess down in Texas, the snowmageddon again, like the whole world shut down out here. So it really worked out schedule wise. I don't have anything else pulling me away, which is kind of nice to recharge a little bit. And yeah, so I digress. I say all that to say I'm grateful and thankful, and just want to thank my precious Lord and Savior Jesus for this opportunity to inspire and reach out. So, how did I get to the academy? So, I'm a middle child, so I have an older brother and a younger brother. So, I was always getting blamed or accused growing up. So, I learned how to navigate the waters of just life with my parents and people. And when I was in high school, I was really, really thin, didn't have I guess I didn't mature into the man I am today. Kind of, I'm more of a late bloomer. I was always super young. I'm a July baby, so I graduated at 17. So I was always kind of the young kid in the older group. So when I was in high school, I didn't really play a lot from a basketball standpoint. So I pretty much rode the bench my entire sophomore and junior season. So 26, July 26th. So I'm a Leo for those that and July Leos are different than August Leos. That's another conversation in itself. But yeah, so when I rode the bench, I had like point 0.3 minutes, point 0.2 points. I mean, it was pretty bad. So I never really had a lot of support, and maybe that chip on the shoulder. You don't want to let it turn into bitterness, but I think I got close to the points of my life to where my high school coach told me I would never play Division III basketball, that I couldn't make the girls team. It was pretty brutal. So for me, at that point, I had understood this is after I'd already overcame cancer. So my mindset, the glass was always half full for me. So that kind of prepared me for the ridicule and just the treatment and all the things that go on as you continue to climb the ladder of success. So I rode the bench. Opportunity came where I got to play my senior year. And mind you, I want to foot stomp. I never stopped working, right? I tell my kids all the time, anybody I come into contact with, effort is required. I don't care what you're doing. It from janitor to CEO to military to entrepreneur, you name it, effort's required. You have to put in the effort because when that moment comes, there's no time to get ready, you know. And I've seen a lot of people fumble on the goal line and really hurt themselves and make some really poor decisions in life, whether it's suicide or just giving up because they weren't prepared for the moment. So even in those dark days when there's no one cheering you on and you know you don't see any light at the tunnel, you gotta dig down deep and keep believing. And I think that's the separator from good and great. You know, a lot of people wonder, well, how is so and so this good and how is so and so that? There's a common denominator. Like talented people that work hard become phenomenal. And untalented people that work hard can still become phenomenal because they keep working. So it's about the work. Now, your talent is your talent, right? God given gift that some of us have. Like, I had no choice to be a 6'5", right? So some people aren't 6'5", understood. However, if you believe and you put in the effort when that time presents itself, you cannot fake the passion and authenticity that it takes to reach that high level. So from there, I kept pushing, got an opportunity, performed well, got recruited by Air Force Academy. My parents were very, very militant with academics, so I always had 4.0 GPA in honors classes. You know, took 4 years of Spanish, so I'm bilingual. So I was in honors AP Spanish and chemistry and all the things. So I was, you know, my school was Caucasian and Asian, so I was probably the only black kid in honors classes with a lot of Asian Americans. So I learned a lot from that culture on how to study and how to stay ahead. And if you start off the semester really, really good with 100, then you can slack off a little bit down the stretch and still end with a high A, you know? So I figured out some tricks of the trade and things like that. And that led me to the academy. I got nominated by Tom DeLay and Kay Bailey Hutchinson. So when I went to the Air Force Academy, my parents were, I got recruited by a couple other mid-major schools and they were not having it. So my mom was like, you're going to the Air Force. So they love the structure. They love the academics. They love the fact that I have a guaranteed job no matter what happened, you know, after I graduated. So sorry, that was a long-winded way to answer that first question, how I got to the academy. But that's,
Yeah,
that's
you know, that's solid because, you know, we've all had different paths and everything like that. And you talked about it. You know, you were not resting on your laurels. You were putting in that work. You were putting in that additional work. And before we started this morning, we were actually talking about things that we could do here at Seven Eagle to help improve that functionality for them. But I do want to sit there and talk about it because, you know, you put in that work, you had all of that, you transitioned from the academy to the NBA circuit. What was the hardest part about trying to rebrand yourself to from the academy, trying to, you know, your endeavors to becoming a professional athlete?
yeah, man, that's an onion right there. That's a tough one. So, you know, the Naval Academy had David Robinson. I mean, so he kind of paved the way for it, but there's never been another Naval Academy basketball player that's had that level of talent. So for me, I got recruited by Naval Academy. I chose Air Force just because number one, location and just I'm more of a fly boy than a seaman, right? So no offense to my brothers and sisters on the Navy, I love y'all. I love my SEALs. I love my MARSOC guys, great and gals, great people, aviators, the whole nine. So I didn't take that route right to Annapolis, and it was also closer to the Pentagon, which I've heard is, as all of us know, have been in the military. The closer you get, the harder the job gets, right? Because they're literally a rock throw away from stepping into your office. So you know, I at Air Force there had been no one with my level of talent. Why can't let me rephrase that? There were a couple guys that were good enough, but there was no rule. They weren't 7-1 like David Robinson. There wasn't a lot of push from the athletic prowess to help, you know, support and guide me on those professional ranks. So it was very frustrating because I didn't do a lot of the things that normal Division I athletes do from a perspective of going to camps and different showcases and highlighting ability and things of that nature. And fast forward a few years ago, I went to a tryout with the Rockets, and the guy was like, "We were looking for you at the senior camp, right? Because they were like, I was one of the best guards before analytics and all the things were coming on online. And they were really excited to see me perform against other talent across the nation. And the academy told me I don't need to go to that. You know, it's not that important, and this, that, and the third. And it's just, it was very frustrating because the military academies and sometimes the military in general has a very challenging time getting out of that vortex of this is the only way to do it, right? Just shut up and color, you know, do as I say, not as I do. And I think a lot of our leaders adopt that drinking all the Kool-Aid mentality, which has an adverse effect on some of us that are creative mindset, that have more of that free spirit, that ask the hard questions on why do we do it this way? Is there a better way? And the leadership that I had was not very receptive to new ideas. And that's what made it difficult for me coming out of the academy, because I was fortunate enough to be behind the closed doors with our 3 stars and congressionals and all the important people. And they were saying like, hey, we need more diversity, or we need more promotion, and we need more diversity and all this. If you let me shoot in a jersey, the Spurs with Coach Popovich, right? That's a whole nother conversation in itself. He's a grad. You would think the long blue line would take care of it, and he would sign me just based on the fact that we're both from the Air Force Academy, you know? And unfortunately, I did not have the support, and there's just a lot of political things in this ecosystem of sports and entertainment that I was not privy to at the time. And it really bit me in the butt, and it left a really, really bad taste in my mouth, because I had 2 contract offers from the Spurs and the Nuggets, and I watched $1.8 million fall through my fingers. So it was, for me, behind closed doors with the brass and the generals, and they asked me the direct question, and I fell for the take the rank off and tell me how you really feel as a young service member. And I've learned the very hard lesson of that doesn't give you the green light to speak your mind, because it's more of a setup than a authentic conversation. So when I told these people with the powers that be that if you could do the same job you're doing right now and 25x your money, why would you not take it? And no one can give me an answer, right? However, I dug my own grave from that perspective, because they saw me as being a pretentious, egotistical, selfish human. And I'm like, sir, man, with all due respect, right? Like, there's no way anybody's coming to work in the military on the 1st or 15th. The first place you're going to be is at finance if your check doesn't clear, right? If you don't have money because you have a family, you have responsibilities, it's bigger than just you. So me being that truthful and heartfelt on that transition, I indirectly hurt myself because I wasn't playing the game. And I want to encourage everybody on this call, there is a game. I don't care whether you believe in it. You don't have to believe in China. It doesn't mean China doesn't exist. You don't have to believe the pot on the stove that your mother or father told you was hot until you touched it. But there is a game, and we are all in the game, and you have to play it. And you can only win if you know the game that you're playing. And I say that to say I'm a very, very firm believer in mentorship, because if I would have had someone guiding me down the path to where I didn't have to step on the same landmines, just being, you know, emotional and immature and not having the emotional intelligence or spiritual intelligence to handle and process all the stuff I was going through, because the statistics alone, there's only 1% of kids that make it to the NBA, and I was one of those. And yet I'm getting told that I can't go because you don't trust me and I'm being selfish. Like, that was a hard pill to swallow. So just being completely transparent, I wanted to blow up almost every Air Force base I went to, because I couldn't understand, like, all of the effort, all the hard work, everything I've been through and overcome to get to the holy grail of everything, and I get denied, but not because of me, but because of other circumstances. And I just, oh man, to this day, you know, I'm in therapy. I'm a firm believer in therapy too. So for those of you in therapy, keep going. It's healthy. Therapy is sexy. I encourage everybody. I used to not believe in it, but until I started going, there's just some things you got to talk out, man. And if you don't have a tribe of good quality humans that will give it to you straight and with love, and just, you know, tell you how you feel, tell you when you're being a jackwagon, and then tell you when your feelings are validated, then you need to invest in yourself, because it's very, very important to keep that mental aspect on point. So the transition for me was it was very difficult, and I did not have that community, and that's something that I'm a big advocate for with mentorship is having that community because we are made to be in community. Like no one is an island, and no one is self-made. So after learning, I'm a big nerd. I have to read like 8 to 10 books at a time. I'm just curiosity is one of my superpowers. I just have this insatiable just to learn, and I've been able to understand and figure out myself first and foremost, so that way I can impart onto others, certain tools and tricks of the trade that can help you get through these hard times when it doesn't make any sense and it's out of your control. And you just got to keep believing. So once again, a long-winded answer to a short question. That transition, it sucked to be completely honest because I did not have that community or support that I desperately needed in that time to really perform and continue on the path that I would like to have been on. So
And that's not an unusual story. It's very, you mentioned David Robinson, it's very rare you see academy graduates be able to hit that, professional sports level just because of circumstances that were out there. You learned it, you grew from it, but we have people here, they're applying to jobs, they're looking for that next adventure. And you going through these camps with these teams and being, cut from the roster and being sit there and say thanks but no thanks. For the veterans facing the nose during their searches, how do you keep your confidence from wavering?
man, very great question. Great segue. So, first of all, you have to have the hard conversations with the human in the mirror, right? Because nothing changes if nothing changes. And you can only control you, right? At a certain point in life, when you look at relationships and circumstances, you can only put your best foot forward, right? You can only put in the effort, you can be prepared, you can do everything you're supposed to do. And unfortunately, whether it's timing, personality, other people going through certain things. You have no idea what other people are going through, but sometimes that can affect the outcome of what you're looking to accomplish. So, from that mental standpoint, you have to understand rejection is part of the process. And I think a lot of leaders fail to mention that on this climb to quote unquote success is that rejection is inevitable. It is inevitable. So, if you have a fear of rejection or you're stuck in that vortex of the unknown and anxiety and all that, then you might just want to stay where you are because it's not for the weak. If you want to do something great, adversity is going to slap you in the face at one point or another. And having those real conversations and the self-talk to yourself, and you got to double down on you. You have to believe that you have a purpose. You have to believe that this is your destiny. And against all odds, you have to bet on yourself. And that's whether your spouse or your family or your friends or community or everybody's telling you that you're crazy, then that means you're probably on the right path, right? Because
Absolutely.
right, you're looking to do something that other people don't want to do. And that's the separator, right? You have, and this just goes back to, we can go down the stories, right? Like you have Colonel Sanders with Chick-fil-A got denied by 120 banks. The lady that wrote the chicken noodle soup for the soul, throwback right there on that book. She got denied by I think like 425 publishers. The lady that created Poppy, right, wanted to sell it to Pepsi back in the day for like I think maybe 2 million something.
It
crazy.
was a small number, if memory serves me correctly. Yeah, you're right.
Right. And Pepsi denied her and she went and created it anyway. And Pepsi just bought it back, I think a few years ago for like 2 billion. Right. And then, so you have all these stories. The same guy that was with Zuckerberg with Facebook, he created WhatsApp, wanted to give it to Facebook and he worked for Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg said, this is a horrible idea. I'm not doing it. So he left Facebook, created it anyway, and Zuckerberg bought it back for billions. So once again, right, you got to believe in you. And that's where it all starts. You can't give what you don't have. So if I don't have patience, I can't give it to anybody else. If I don't have $10, I can't give you 11. I can't give it to you, right? If I only have 9, I can't give you 10. If I don't have peace, if I don't have joy, if I don't have love, whatever I don't have, I can't give. And whatever I don't have, I can't amplify or multiply either because I don't possess it. And there's the old story of, I think it's Gandhi or whoever, where the mom brings the kid to him to like fix him because he's addicted to sugar. And he tells the lady, well, you need to go back, for 3 weeks and come back and see me. And then she comes back and she says, well, why'd you make me wait 3 weeks? And he says, because I had to make sure that I'm no longer addicted to sugar. Right. So I caution a lot of people all the time. It's like, you want to make sure that the people you are taking advice from or the people that are leading and guiding you are people that have a certain level of wisdom and knowledge and applied knowledge that you can actually receive and grow from, right? And that's just in life. Like if someone is not at a certain level, it doesn't mean you can't learn from them. And I want to be very clear about that, right? You can learn from the janitor, you can learn from the CEO, you can learn from the 4-star, you can learn from an airman, a seaman, a corporal, whatever. Anybody can teach you anything. It's just there are levels to each one of those areas that you want to climb to. And sometimes the people that got you to a certain point aren't the ones that help get you to the next level. And it doesn't mean you should eradicate the friendship or not treat them the same or anything like that. But everybody's not going to come with you in this climb. And you can also hinder yourself by hanging on to certain relationships at certain levels that aren't going to serve you as you're striving to get to the next level. And I don't have all the answers. I'll be the first to tell you that is a very, very hard waters to navigate because it's hard to let go of things, man, especially people that have been with you from the beginning, 10 toes down, that believe in you no matter what. You gotta hang on to them as long as they continue to grow with you and continue to add that advocacy, that leadership, that pick me up when you need it, and they don't shift and turn on you because that's the hardest thing too, is that mindset wise, when you're after something big, the first thing people say is don't forget about the little people. But I didn't make you little. You just made yourself little. But now you're condemning me because I'm after something greater than myself to benefit my entire community. And you're going to say, don't forget about the little people. Well, who just made you little? Not me. You did. And that's where it gets tricky too, because that's the other thing I think a lot of leaders don't talk about with success is that people put themselves in these categories that you never put them in. So now I'm having questions and conversations with people that are in my community that I'm treating you the exact same, but yet you've elevated me to a different category on your own fruition, and now I'm being punished for it. And that's not. Those are hard, man. Those are hard. So I've unfortunately, I'm living proof. I had to let some people go that I didn't want to let go because I'm like, I can't continue to talk to you and you keep talking to me like I'm the president of the United States when I'm just Antoine. And now you have made me bigger than life, which is okay. However, you're supposed to be my safe space that I can communicate with and just take the mask off and be real. So it's tough. It's tough. And just to encourage everybody too, I am 42, and my goal still to this day, I will be the oldest rookie in the NBA, and I'm working that as we speak. So I'm not only talking it, I'm living it, and I think that's the only way to do it. If you're going to talk about it, you got to be about it. So
you know, and that's it, and you touched on the big thing there, resilience and advocacy, for yourself and just really grounding yourself. You could sit there and say that you're the best of the best, but you got to be that person. And that's what we do here at Seven Eagle is that we are the advocates for all of the Eagles that are here today chatting with you. I do want to talk real quick, and I know it's kind of a sensitive subject with some people, but you being a cancer survivor, how did your military and your life experiences influence your mindset during your recovery? And how did that experience change your perspective on life and your career goals?
man, very great question too. It's to your point, yeah, I don't want to be uninsensitive to anybody that's had someone pass, whether it be COVID, cancer, anything, because it is it's tough. It's tough, and it's very easy to speak on when you're not in it. Like a lot of people say what they would or would not do until you're in the situation. So for me, I learned very, very quickly the power of confession and the vocabulary that we use, right? There is so much power in words. And I encourage people all the time. You will never outraise or never outgrow the level of your vocabulary. So there have been times when I have had $1 in my account, but I would never say that I'm broke, right? Because that is a mindset. So when I was diagnosed and I was in the hospital, and I mean, I've had even today, right? The smell of hospitals to this day is still very, kind of get that ick. It's like, oh man, and and I'll just be the first to admit and just telling myself, I do not go back and speak as much as I should to those going through this because I don't really have a good answer. I'm just not doing it. And I need to do it, right? I need to get back and encourage other people because my circle of encouragement was just really my mom when I was going through this. My dad was not emotionally or spiritually intelligent enough to see his son in this state and handle it. And I get that, right? Like everybody has their thing, However, you have to be able to push past that at a certain point because if I wasn't here anymore, I mean, could my father forgive himself? I don't know. And I don't know for those of you who have lost people in those situations, I can't speak to that either. And I know that's not a place that I would want to be because I at least want to do everything I can to support to the best of my ability. And sometimes you just have to be comfortable and be uncomfortable, right? And there's just no other way around that. So for me, I've had spinal taps, the CAT scans, radiation, chemo, all the things, urinating pink, blue, red from all the drugs, et cetera, et cetera. So I've been, man, it felt like years, right? I lost all my hair. I was bald. I mean, got down like maybe 100 pounds, who knows? It was just a different feeling. But coming out of after spinal taps or CAT scans, et cetera, you get in the recovery room. And as a 13-year-old, I didn't know what I was seeing until I started to mature on the EI and SI platform that it's not the disease that kills anybody, it's the stress. And I'm a big advocate of stress management for everybody because we all experience stress. And the stress and the mind, it just to see it on other families and other kids and people, even some of the caretakers, like that's the worst disease ever. It's just getting stressed out about things you can't control. So sitting by a kid, he asked me like, "Hey man, you think you're gonna make it?" And I said, "Yeah, I believe I'm gonna make it." I'm like, "What about you?" And he's like, "I don't think I'm gonna make it." And literally the next day he was gone. And it was like that hit me so hard, and I never equate age of maturity anymore because at 13, I grew up just like that. Okay, it's real. It's real right now. When someone looks you in the eyes and say you have less than 3 months to live, it gets real really fast. And you find out either you're going to have faith or you're not. So you have to understand, once again, the narrative and the story will be the same throughout this conversation, is that it starts with you. So I had a choice. I could have said, man, I could speak the circumstances and say how I feel and how hard it is and all that stuff. But hard is inevitable. Choose your hard. It's hard to be fat. It's hard to be thin. It's hard to be in shape. It's hard to be out of shape. It's hard to be, it's hard to be rich. It's hard to be poor. It's hard to have a car. It's hard to walk. Like, hard is hard. You got to choose it. So I chose to focus on the things that I wanted to experience and speak those things and not speak the circumstances because I'm in the circumstance. So for me to keep repeating the circumstance that I'm already in, I'm only giving more power to the circumstance. So for me, having that mindset of the glass half full as a 13-year-old, it changed my whole perspective on life. And people always say, "Oh, there's tomorrow, there's tomorrow." Well, tomorrow's not promised to any of us, right? Like we have plans and this and that, but the main thing I've learned from my entire experience and overcoming that is you have to be present. You have to be in the moment. Like right now, I'm here with you fine people. This is all I'm focused on because I'm right here. Some of you are, you're listening, but you're doing laundry or you're folding or you have other things pulling you away, whatever the case may be. And that's fine too. I get that. We're all human. It's just when you miss the present, you miss the gift. And in this moment right now, and just like I was back then, I had to be fully in the moment. And I'm not negating feeling the emotion. I'm not negating that. the pain and the grief and all the things that you experience, whether you're going through it or a loved one or a friend or a family member, even some of your enemies, right? I don't wish that upon anybody for that matter. However, you have to feel the feelings, but you cannot let them control you, right? Because I don't feel like working out every day. I don't feel like being a dad every day. I don't feel like getting up. I don't feel like doing a lot of things. However, I know for me to experience the gift of right now, I have to do something. I have to be motivated. I have to start my engine. That's the first. I got to start my engine. I can't go anywhere if I don't start the engine. When I start the engine, now there's another decision. Am I going to put gas in the car? Okay, well, how much bandwidth do I have? How much capacity do I have? How much can I handle? And I have to know my boundaries, and I have to understand who I am so that way I don't inflict certain pains and troubles and all sorts of different things on other people that don't deserve it, you know. So that's just a part that I really, really took away. And when I got into the military and I was going through watching the $1.8 million, I reverted back to just, why didn't God just take me back then? Like, why would you put me through this type of pain, right? And I have all these questions and all that. And it's the questions and all the things, there's nothing wrong with that either. We're human. You're going to have that, right? It's just processing those. So when I verbally say something, I only want to speak to what I want to happen and what I want people to know the type of human that I am. Internally, it can be chaos, but that's everybody. Everybody has some sort of chaos or brokenness. We're all in the same boat, right? It's just, how am I going to handle it and process it? And how am I going to reach out to explain that and encourage other people while I'm still in the process? Because we have a very, very bad habit of thinking that we're the only ones that go through things. And that's the other part that helped me persevere through a lot of this too, is that you isolation is also the biggest killer. So if you're stressed out and you're isolated, that is a double whammy that can push people over the edge to suicide, because you think it's only you, no one can understand this, that, and the third. There are, I don't know, what, 3, 4 billion people in the world. I don't know my whole numbers or whatever, but there's someone out there that has been through maybe not exactly what you've been through, but something similar. And that's why, I need to slap myself, right? Because I need to get out here and be better about the lymphoma thing and going to local hospitals and just, even if it's not, every week, at least once a month, right? I got to start somewhere. And that's on me, right? So I encourage all of you, through every pain you've been through, the biggest healer from mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional health will be to go talk to other people about what you experienced. And that, as I've learned through just doing it through other challenges in my life, like I was raped by a female, and that I didn't go to counseling, just buried it, the whole nine. And that was a whole nother issue I had to work through. But when I went and talked to people about that experience, then I started to get healing, and I think that's what a lot of our pain is for. It's not for us, it's for others. And it takes a lot, man. It takes a lot. And if you think changing yourself is difficult, imagine how hard it is for other people that you want to change, right? Because it's taken a lot of work, a lot of tears, a lot of reading, a lot of therapy, a lot of everything, community, just to get to where I am now. And I think about the people that don't have that. It's like you're almost doomed from the start, right? Like, it's like, geez, to overcome even more and to believe even more and to keep pushing even more is a whole nother level of belief that I just think we all need to have. So
I love that, and thank you. Do appreciate that. Megan, you had your hand up there for a moment. Did you have a question?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you. Because I'm a two-time suicide survivor. Um, very grateful and thankful to be here. The sexual assault side of things. I opened Pandora's box as an instructor at senior NCOA. And I finally started sharing my story of both my childhood sexual trauma and then my military sexual traumas that I went through. And I came up with a statement I would write on the board in my classroom. And I would empower all of my students for that. And it said, learn to lead in the uncomfortable.
That's good.
And it would be up there, date of education one. They'd be like, what am I walking into? And it opened the door. Like, I had so many people come into my classroom very nervous, and then I would share my story, bits and pieces,
Yeah.
not the whole thing. Um, and it led to other people opening up. And I had so many people reach back out, did this job for almost 4 years, and they're like, thank you for doing that because that empowered me to share my story with my people. So I just want to say thank you. It's impactful. I really appreciate you.
Anytime. I mean, you're the hero as well. So thank you for sharing that. And just to piggyback, it's not easy, right? And I know you can attest to it. And for those of you that haven't got to that point of sharing your story, I just encourage you to let go of the fear because you just don't know what's on the other side, right? Because somebody out there could be on their last leg, you know? And that kind of leads me to a story too, where I was in high school and, riding the bench, just kind of doing my thing. And I was walking home because I lived right by the school. And this kid, he was just walking, and I just started talking to him, right? Just said hello. And he's like, hey, you want to come play video games? I was like, yeah, why not? Right. So walking home, asked my parents, went to play video games with the kid. And, I didn't think anything of it. And then went home and like at graduation, he thanked me because he said that was the day he was going home to kill himself. And I was like, geez, man, like I'm, 16, 15 years old, not thinking anything of it, just playing video games with a kid that goes to school. And you never know how a hello, how a hug, how anything, just taking time out of your day, right? And you're never too busy to save someone's life. That's how I look at it, right? So anytime you have an interruption or somebody, you're in Walmart, the line's like all the way back to auto mechanics, and you're just standing there and you see somebody that looks sad or whatever, just say hello. I mean, you just never know. And I carry that with me. And I'm not saying it's some sort of superpower or super special human. It's just, once again, being in the moment, man, and just being present and just being aware of your surroundings. Just like most of us have been trained, especially in the military, you're already, I have a weird thing, just counting all the people, knowing all the exits, right? Just call it training, call it awareness. Too many movies taken, right? Just with the family. Like I want to know where everything is just in case I got to do something. However, that same thing goes for emotional, mental, and spiritual stuff as well, right? You just never know. And sometimes people don't want to help. You can only help those the one that want to receive the help too. So that's another part of the rejection of being this type of human that can be painful because as brave as she was to write the statement on the board, there's going to be someone that rejects that really needs it more than anybody else, but you can't force it on them. And I think we've all been in positions where anytime something is super forced by someone that you don't want, it just doesn't translate well. So I encourage you just to read the room, and know the temperature because you can either be the thermostat or you can be the climate. And you want to make sure you know the wisdom of timing and which one to be so you can reach those that may or may not be willing to receive what you have. So
I love that. And the person, just fantastic. Mr. Vidal, go ahead, sir.
I was going to ask if you consider starting a podcast, man. You got some good stuff.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I get that a lot, bro. It's just my bandwidth, man. I'm only one man. You know what I mean? So eventually, I think one day, once I carve out some more time, I probably will. It's because that podcast market is so oversaturated with a lot of different stuff. But however, it shouldn't hinder me from carving out a little niche to help encourage and inspire people. Just
Just think of it as a message to your kids.
Yeah, true story. True story. Well said. So yeah, it is definitely on the list of items to take care of for sure. So
That actually leads me to a really good question. you do a lot of different things. You're an author, you're a speaker, you're an entrepreneur, you're a father, you're, hopefully going to be a one-day NBA rookie. We had the director of performance on for the Boston Bruins a couple of months ago, and he was talking, I talked to him about work-life balance and time management and stuff like that. And he says it's all about throttle management. There are times to where I'm throttle up and I'm, locked off from the world. And then there is, times to where I can pull it back. So what is, how do you ruthlessly prioritize your time to make sure you're making the best impact in every area of everything that you're doing?
Yeah, great question. So for me, I just figured this out just reading. Like I said, I read like 8 to 10 books at a time, so I'm just a low key, or I guess a high key nerd at this point. And I figured out about myself, which I feel like I should have known this way before now, but I'm a polymath human, right? So like I'm a autodidact, which is a fancy way to say like I'm very self-motivated to learn things. And like if you give me a carrot, then I'm gonna make a carrot cake, right? I'm that type of person. And from a polymath standpoint, I have the ability to just absorb a bunch of different things. I guess not necessarily at the same time, because multitasking is a myth in itself. However, the way my mind and the way I'm wired is that I want to do different things and not just one thing, right? And I've got a lot of ridicule for that, right? A lot of people, there are a lot of books and a lot of knowledge and information out there about synergy and just do this one thing and do this one thing. And it's like, I I look at life and I think we're all polymath humans by nature because you can't just be in the military, right? Like you got to be in the military, you got to lead, you got to work out, you got to go to training, you have to do the mission. You're constantly doing more than one. You can't just be one thing, And I think that the limits that we have in life are just the limits we put on ourselves. So for me, each day, I mean, it's like juggling, right? I mean, I have to understand, and this is why being present is so key because I can only have two balls in my hand at one time, right? Everything else is in the air. So when I'm juggling, okay, family, kids got a game, I need to be there. Okay, wife, got to have date night, quality time. Okay, throwing that up. Boom. Okay, business, I got this coming up. I got that. Okay, can I get to this meeting? I can only be so many places. So really it's all about juggling and it's all about balance, And I don't want to sound cliche, but that balance is everything because a lot of us live in extremes, right? So it's like I mentor a lot of young kids and people, and I'm like, just use the analogy, okay, if you want to have a beer to cap off your day, cool. Let's just have one beer, maybe two. Let's not have a 12 pack, right? Now we're in a whole nother level. Hey, if you're into marijuana or mushrooms or psychedelics or whatever, do your thing, no judgment. Let's just smoke one joint or let's just microdose on the shrooms. Let's not take a whole pound and bowl of weed or a whole mushroom and I gotta go wake up and be a parent tomorrow, right? Like you gotta live in the balance. And I think moderation is really the key to everything because you can hurt yourself by I can eat too much broccoli, I can drink too much water, and these things are good for me, right? I can have too much sex, I can do things that feel good too much in the extreme and end up hurting myself. So it's that balance of just understanding, okay, today is today. What is a priority today? Right. And if I have to move the chess pieces around the board for today, then that's all I can control is today. Right. I can't be focused on tomorrow until I start getting towards the end of my day today, January 27th of 2026. And then I can look ahead before I go to sleep, or if I'm navigating a chess piece that correlates with something tomorrow or the next day or the next week, but it's just I have to be able to know what's most important in this moment, right? And then you just have to keep building. And I don't have the answer to that either. I just know I can't be all lion and no sheep, right? And I also can't be all authority and no emotion. Right? I have to balance it all out to where I have to read the room, know the temperature, and I have to know myself. And then I have to be able to effectively communicate to other people what I can and cannot do, right? I don't want to gaslight anybody. I don't want to overextend myself. I don't want to say yes to everything somebody puts in front of me because I can't do everything. I can do anything, but I can't do everything. And that's the only time you ever hear me use can't, because I've eradicated can't, wish, and what's the other one I don't use? I can't think of it right now, but those two I don't use very often. However, in this moment, you cannot do everything. You're only one human. You can do a lot, you can do it well, but you have to know, as you said with the throttle, same type situation. Okay, if I'm a tax preparer and it's tax season, I'm full throttle. It's tax season, right? And the people around me in my circle have to understand I'm gonna be a little more extreme in this season because it's tax season, right? Same thing. Okay, it's exercise for military, or I got 4 classes back to back I got to teach. Hey, babe, I love you. I love the family. It's going to be a little different during this season because I have a lot on my plate with X, Y, or Z. And if you can communicate that and understand that and process it yourself and explain that to others around you, it makes the blow a lot easier when you have late nights, when you might be more grumpy, when you might be X, Y, Z. No excuse for you to take it out on them. However, at least you're able to communicate that effectively in love to let them know, like, hey, I got a lot going on right now with this. I need some grace here, here, and here. I'm not going to lose sight of what's important with my family and this, that, and the third. However, I might have to maneuver some things around at this point just to keep this piece that's really important right now going without negating the other responsibilities that I have.
I love that. And that really does kind of piggyback onto, I want to talk about you calling yourself a Renaissance man. And for everyone that's here in the room, do you think veterans and do you think people should be focused on being specialists in one thing, or should they embrace being multifaceted like you?
So I am a very, very big advocate of multifaceted, right? I call them like curious conversations. So if you're in maintenance, you should go to personnel and ask questions. If you're in finance, you should go to CE and ask questions. You should learn as much as possible because you never know what space you're in. And it just goes back to balance, right? Like I've been fortunate enough and I'm curious enough to where I've spoken to so many different people that there's not a room I can't go into and connect with somebody because I may not be a mechanic. However, I know enough about cars or planes or gadgets and widgets to where we can have a conversation. And the only way for me to build bridges and connect with people is to jump into their world. And if you're not willing to jump into their world, then now you're flirting with that isolationism again. And so if the only people I hang around are mechanics, then my mindset, my growth, my stability, everything that I am is tied to mechanic. And that can seep into my identity of who I am. And you never want what you do to define who you are because who you are should be separate than what you do. And I call it hats, right? Everybody has a different hat. You can call it a mask, whatever analogy you want to put with it, multifaceted. You're not going to speak to your commander or your boss the same way you're going to speak to your high school friend. You're just not going to. I'm not going to be the same human I am if I'm out with the guys and we're at a sports bar than I am when I'm out to a family dinner with my in-laws. I'm not going to be the same person. It doesn't make me malicious. It doesn't make me evil. It doesn't make me two-faced. It makes me intelligent. It makes me understand my emotional and spiritual intelligence to know, hey, I can't use the same vernacular that I use with so and so and this. And there are a lot of people that say, oh, this is just who I am, and you have to accept me for me. Well, I can accept you for you, but you need to understand you to know maybe that type of communication and jargon and vernacular aren't appropriate for the setting that I'm in. And I think the more people start to understand that and peel back that onion, the easier it is to navigate your life because you have to read the room. You just have to read the room. And the only way you get that is by being present. You know what I mean? And that's just, you have to have enough knowledge because it gets very boring when you're out eating with someone or talking or having a conversation and this person cannot understand anything you're speaking on. So it's like, okay, well, I can't even communicate with you because you don't understand my world. And every time I say something, you're like, what is that? What is that? What is that? Okay, there's a level to that if we're first getting to know each other, but the next time I see you or the next time we interact verbally, textually, whatever, I need you to start kind of picking up what I'm putting down so that we can have more fluid, educated, positive advocate type conversation to help each other. Because if I don't know your world and I'm not willing to jump into it, then we're just going to hinder the relationship and the growth and the ability to move forward.
I was muted. My apologies. I love it. Appreciate that. We are coming up on time right now. I got to give them a little bit of a break before their next session. But
yeah, of course.
If you have any, closing words, any words of wisdom, anything like that, what is a 2 to 3 sentence statement that you would say right now to impart everything that you have talked about today onto everyone here right now?
So I have a lot of different mantras and things that I like to live by. And I actually keep like a book of quotes that I'm one day going to print out and give to my kids. I might publish it one day, who knows, right? Just from all the different things and people I interact with. But this is one I think that has hit me the most and I'll probably carry the longest. Until the lion learns to write, the tails will always go to the hunter. So I'll say it again. Until the lion learns to write, the tails will always go to the hunter. So that quote to me is kind of an encompassing embodiment of you have to be able to tell your own story, right? Because if we're the lion and we let someone else and we don't know how to communicate, how to articulate, how to read the room, how to know who we are, then someone else is going to tell the story that you should be telling. And no one can tell your story better than you. So I want everyone I encounter to be the lion or lioness or whatever your power animal is. Eagles, for this matter, right? Eagles don't fly in flocks. They just don't. It doesn't mean eagles won't get along with other eagles, but you got to know your path and you have to understand to carve it out, right? So if you let life and fear and all these other things dictate who you are, then it's going to tell your story, and it might not be the story you want told.
I love it. Anton, I really do appreciate you. I love chatting with people like you here because you have the life experiences and the focus that is fantastic. So that's why I love to host sessions like these, because this is what our skill bridgers and everyone needs to hear. So from the bottom of my heart, and for those of us here at Seven Eagle, I do want to wish you, nothing but the best. I hope you get that contract sometime soon. My fingers are crossed. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your time today. I do greatly appreciate it. And I know for a fact we will be having you come back and chat with future cohorts with Seven Eagles. So thank you for your time today.
No worries at all. God bless everybody. And if you need me,
PS413, my boy. You got that.
I appreciate it. Come back and find me social media. My Eagles got my information. Don't hesitate to reach out. So.
All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day. You'll get a bunch of LinkedIn connections for sure.
Awesome stuff. So I appreciate it, man. Y'all have a good one.